You will never be rich as long as you continue doing these 7 things. And I'm not here to be nice to you. I'm here to show you, with the coldness of someone who built an industrial revolution from scratch, exactly what is keeping you poor, unproductive, and emotionally stuck. If you're ready to face this like a man, or like a woman who's tired of being a slave to bills and empty promises, then sit down. Because what I'm about to tell you could change the course of your life. First, I want you to think about this. Why do most people work their whole lives and die poor? It's not for lack of effort. Most people work hard, but they work wrong. With the wrong mindset, with wrong habits, with wrong principles. And wealth, real wealth, the kind that transforms families, builds legacies, and sets people free, only comes when the mind, heart, and routine operate in harmony with principles of productivity, order, and purpose. The list you are about to see is not a theory. It is a practical distillation of what I have seen destroy workers, engineers, and entrepreneurs throughout my life. There are 7 behaviors that, if you continue to practice, will keep you stuck in the same cycle of frustration, debt, and dependence. Let's get straight to the first one. The first thing you should never do if you want to be rich is to wait for motivation to act. That's for people who don't understand how reality works. Motivation is a luxury that workers don't have. I built my fortune by waking up early, working when I didn't want to, doing what was necessary, even with a headache, even when I was tired, even when I was afraid. Those who depend on being inspired to do what needs to be done will live off self-help books, but will never see results. The factory doesn't wait for inspiration to start working. It turns on at 6 a.m, period. And here's a principle. Cold discipline beats unstable emotion. Always. If you want to be rich, you have to act like a machine. You have to work every day without fail. And you know what happens? True motivation comes after action, not before. Do you want to feel motivated? Get out of bed, take a cold shower, sit down in a chair, and start producing. The results will push you forward. But the opposite? Waiting to feel good to do something? That's a recipe for failure. The second thing that keeps you poor is blaming the past for the present. Most of the people who came to me financially broken had something in common. They were stuck in stories. Oh, Henry, I didn't have a father. Oh, Henry, no one taught me about money. Oh, Henry, I lost everything in the pandemic. And my answer is always the same. The past only has power if you continue to feed it. The engine of progress is built by looking forward. The rear-view mirror is only for learning, not for living in. If you continue to treat your mistakes as excuses rather than fuel, you will spend the next 10 years the same way you spent the last 5, stagnant, complaining, and with a bank account in the red. Want the hard truth? Life doesn't care about your traumas. The economic system is cold, direct, and has no pity for those who don't adapt. Either you learn to use pain as traction, or it will crush you. The third behavior that eliminates any chance of getting rich: spending more than you earn. Seems obvious, right? Well, it's the most common mistake of all. And you know why? Because the modern poor want to look rich before they are rich. They buy expensive clothes, the latest cell phones, cars financed with payments that consume half their salary. This isn't showing off. It's sabotage. In my day, those who earned 5 saved 2. Those who earned 50 invested 20. That's why they got rich. Because wealth is the result of accumulation and reinvestment, not consumption and status. Workers who understand this early on start building capital before they turn 40. Those who don't understand it die dependent on Social Security. And if you feel offended by this, great. Because maybe this is your only chance to wake up before it's too late. Now listen carefully to the fourth mistake, perhaps the quietest of all: hanging out with people who think small. This destroys fortunes before they are even born. Because ideas have a smell, a temperature, and the human mind is porous. You absorb the mindset of those around you, whether you want to or not. If you spend your days surrounded by people who complain about their boss, who speak ill of those who prosper, who say that rich people are thieves, guess what? You will act like them. You will sabotage any attempt to build something different. When I set up my first assembly line, I made sure to choose people who believed in the possibility of the impossible. People who wanted to win, not just survive. Do you want to get rich? Then start by cleaning up your circle of contacts. Minimize your interaction with people who live in victim mode, and drastically increase the time you spend with people who build, execute, and achieve. The environment shapes the man. The fifth behavior you must eliminate today: waiting for guarantees before acting. The educational system taught you to seek security. Modern culture sold you the illusion of a stable job, and fear convinced you that it is better not to try than to fail. This is poison. Every fortune begins with risk. Every project begins with uncertainty. Every empire is born in doubt. Do you think I had any guarantee of success when I decided to produce cars on a large scale? None. I bet everything on efficiency. And what made me win was my obsession with eliminating waste, standardizing processes, and reinvesting every penny in continuous improvement. Wealth is the reward for those who act before they are certain. Those who wait for the perfect scenario die average. But we're not done yet. There are 2 more behaviors that destroy any chance of financial independence. And in the next section, I'll show you the last 2 mental poisons that keep most people trapped in poverty, along with the antidote that few have the courage to apply. If this makes sense to you, it's a sign that your mind is already in the process of rebuilding. And if you want to continue on this journey of transformation, you know what to do. Activate whatever is necessary to continue receiving this type of unfiltered guidance. We now come to the 6th poison that corrodes the minds of those who say they want to be rich, but act like they accept being poor, procrastinating difficult decisions. And here I speak as someone who has had to make hundreds of tough decisions a day, under pressure, with lives and fortunes at stake. Those who postpone the inevitable die suffocated by it. You know this situation well. You know you need to change careers, cut back on spending, end a partnership, get out of a relationship that is draining you. But you put it off. You tell yourself that you will think about it, that the time is not right, that maybe next month will be better. And time goes by, taking with it your strength to act. What was supposed to be a course correction turns into a fatal detour. Wealth is built on decisions. And every decision you put off is one less brick in the structure of your freedom. When you procrastinate, you transfer power to circumstances. And when circumstances decide for you, it always comes with interest, pain, and scarcity. Life requires a steady hand. The factory doesn't stop because someone is indecisive. The train of opportunity doesn't wait for those who are in the bathroom wondering whether or not to get on. Either you take control or you will be controlled. Now, the 7th and final behavior on the list. And this is the most treacherous of all, thinking that learning is enough without applying it. I have seen hundreds of intelligent men fail miserably. Men who read, who knew theory, who attended courses. But when it came time to get their hands dirty, they froze. They were afraid of getting their white shirts dirty with dust from the factory floor. They were ashamed of making mistakes in public. They were too lazy to persevere. God, it's useless to know if you don't turn knowledge into action. Wealth does not come from what you understand, but from what you execute. Write this down. Understanding without application is mental masturbation. It only serves to inflate the ego and feed illusions. Meanwhile, the real world is rewarding the guy who woke up early, tested an idea, made mistakes, corrected them, persisted, and sold. That is the man who builds capital. The rest are spectators. In my factory, everyone knew learning is part of the process, but execution is the only valid currency. Do you want to be respected? Apply. Do you want to be free? Execute. Do you want to be rich? Do it. Action is the only language the universe understands. Words are wind, promises are smoke, but execution is steel. And if you've come this far thinking that this is all just a nice philosophy, an inspirational speech, let me be clear. This is applied mindset engineering. This is how you rebuild a life. This is how an ordinary man becomes an industrialist. This is how you get out of debt and build a legacy. And now that the list is complete, you may be asking yourself, what do I do with all this? The answer is brutally simple. You apply it now, not tomorrow. Now, if you really want to escape scarcity, take this list, write it down by hand, hang it on your bedroom wall, and every single day ask yourself, which of these behaviors still live in me? And kill them one by one. But that alone is not enough, because eliminating destructive habits is only half the equation. The other half is building a new, solid, efficient structure. Just like I did with my assembly line. Eliminate waste, standardize excellence, automate. What can be automated? You need to turn your routine into a value-producing machine. And that requires a system, not luck. It requires process, not impulse. It requires discipline, not emotion. Now listen to me carefully, because this is pure gold. Most men are too busy trying to look busy. They do 1,000 irrelevant tasks, spend their days putting out fires. They're always running, but they don't build anything. That's poverty disguised as effort. And I didn't build an empire that way. I built it because I understood that the secret is to do less, better every day. You need to stop confusing movement with progress. An engine can idle all day and stay in the same place. But a well-calibrated gear, connected to an efficient system, generates traction, speed, results. Your day needs to be like that. A system of productive gears, where every hour has a purpose, every action has a return, every effort has a destination. If you want to be rich, you need to become an engineer of your time, an industrialist of your mind, a worker of your freedom. And that starts now. Now, not when you finish watching this video. Now, not when the month ends. Now, because now is the only time the rich respect. The poor live in one day. The rich live in today at 6 a.m. And if you think that's too much, that it's difficult, that it's hard, then accept living off what's left. Accept depending on the government. Accept leaving your family vulnerable. Because that's the alternative. There is no middle ground. Either you become a builder of value, or you will always be a consumer of hope. And I tell you, as someone who has built more than factories, I have built mindsets, families, systems, an entire country based on a job well done. If you apply this knowledge, you will turn the key. Not tomorrow. Today. Now. Before we move on to the next part of our journey, I want to give you a task. That's right, a task. Grab a pen and paper, no cell phones, no keyboards. Pen and paper. And write down, which of these 7 attitudes are keeping me poor? Write them down one by one. Then, next to each one, write down the first practical action you will take today to start breaking that pattern. This is what separates men from boys, real women from wounded girls, the free from modern slaves. This is your personal assembly line. Start producing it now, because life doesn't wait. And success isn't a prize for those who want it. It's a consequence for those who act. Now that you know the 7 attitudes that destroy wealth, I want to teach you something even more important: how to shield your mind from them. Because knowing what not to do is only half the game. The other half is building the kind of thinking that makes it impossible to fall into those holes again. This is called preventive mental engineering. I built the Ford Motor Company by applying this every day. Before any problem arose, I already had a system in place to prevent it from happening. Most people live by improvisation. They wake up without direction, react to whatever the day brings, and only think about change when the fire has already started. That's a survivor's mentality, and survivors don't get rich. The people who get rich are those who think like engineers. Before they leave home, they've already put together a plan. Before the first mistake, they've already defined the protocol. Before the first penny, they already know where every dollar will be invested. This is called assembly line mentality, where every thought has a place, every action has a function, every mistake has a ready antidote. Let's be honest, the human mind is lazy by nature. It wants comfort, repetition, immediate pleasure. That's why it loves the 7 behaviors you need to eliminate. They're easy. They're sweet. They momentarily relieve the pain of responsibility, but they also kill your future. So if you want to be rich, you need to mechanize your mind. Train it like a machine, capable of operating even on bad days, even under pressure, even without motivation. When I created the Ford production system, the big breakthrough wasn't just mass-producing cars. It was eliminating the human factor. From improvisational decision-making, I took the power of emotion out of the process and handed it all over to the system. That's why it worked. That's why it became huge. The question is, why are you still trying to build your freedom on feelings? On willpower? On I feel good today, so I'll produce? You need to understand this once and for all. The rich are emotionally disciplined workers. They feel everything you feel: fear, doubt, laziness, but they don't give in. They wake up and do what has to be done. They follow the plan. They operate like a cog. And that's what you're going to learn now. How to become a living cog of execution. First, define your productivity shifts. This is crucial. Every worker on an assembly line knows exactly when to clock in, what to do, how to do it, and when to clock out. Why isn't your life like that? Why is your routine chaos? Because you haven't yet understood that freedom is born from structure. The more rigid your execution system, the freer your future will be. Write this down. A strict routine today means greater freedom tomorrow. So start now. Set your first shift. It can be from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. or from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. It doesn't matter. But it needs to have clear tasks, a fixed schedule, and zero room for distraction. During this shift, you don't talk. You don't check social media. You don't answer messages. You operate. You produce. You deliver. It's your shift to build wealth. Step 2. Eliminate ambiguity. Ambiguity is the cancer of productivity. Every time you don't know exactly what to do, how to do it, and why to do it, your mind resorts to automatic behavior. And guess what? Automatic. Behavior is one of the 7 things that keeps you poured out. So before you start any task, answer 3 questions. What exactly am I going to do? With what end result? In how much time? This transforms a loose intention into a solid block of execution. And that transforms your day into an industrial system of results. Step 3. Measure everything. Nothing in my factory worked without measurement. If a part was 1 millimeter off the standard, it was stopped. If a gear ran slower, it was adjusted. Why? Because efficiency requires control. And control requires metrics. You can't improve what you don't measure. You can't correct what you don't observe. So I ask, where are your numbers? How much money did you save this week? How many productive hours did you have yesterday? How many days did you keep your routine intact last month? If you don't know the answer, you're managing your life like an amateur. And amateurs don't build wealth. They survive. At best. Fourth point. Eliminate mental garbage. Think about it. Would you put sand in the engine of a new car? Of course not. So why do you keep clogging your mind with social media, gossip, mindless TV shows, and catastrophic news? That's sand in the engine of your productivity. Do you want to get rich? Then your mind needs to be clean, sharp, and action-oriented. Here's a daily practice I used without fail. 30 minutes of strategic silence every day. No noise, no screens. Just you, your notebook, and your productive thoughts. This oxygenates your brain, aligns your goals, and clears out the excess noise. It is in this silence that long-term plans reveal themselves. It is in this silence that million-dollar ideas are born. And finally, learn to celebrate the effort, not the result. This is a huge mistake made by those who fail. They are only motivated when they see a return, when the money comes in, when the goal is achieved. But the rich understand that effort well done is true wealth, because it is constant effort that builds the steps to inevitable results. In my factory, a good worker was praised not when the car was ready, but when he repeated the correct movement 1,000 times a day, without fail, without complaint, with excellence. That's what you need to do with your life. Turn every task into a masterpiece of consistency. Because when the process is perfect, the result is a matter of time got. And now, with that mental foundation in place, you are ready to begin your second phase of growth. The phase where you stop just cutting out bad habits and start installing high-performance personal systems. In the next section, I will show you how to build a routine that is immune to mediocrity. A life designed as a production line for financial, emotional, and spiritual results. But before that, tell me, are you going to continue watching content without doing anything, or are you going to turn your home into a small wealth-building factory? Because what you do in the next 24 hours will determine whether this video was just interesting or transformative. Now is the time to stop running your life like a last-minute improvisation. What I'm going to teach you in this section is a true high-performance personal industrial blueprint, and you'll apply it like an engineer assembles a machine piece by piece with surgical precision, eliminating everything that doesn't add value and standardizing everything that works. Want you to visualize your life as a factory, a structure with sectors. Each sector has a function. Each function has a schedule. Each schedule has a goal. And every day you turn on that factory, whether you feel like it or not, whether the sun is shining or not, whether you get applause or not, because that's how true wealth producers operate. They don't live on inspiration. They live on continuous, methodical, and obsessively productive execution. Let's start with the basics, your morning shift. If you start your day with disorder, notifications, emergencies, and your cell phone in your face, you've already lost the battle before you even open your mouth. Your morning is the ignition sector of your factory. That's where you inject mental fuel, set the route for the day, and set the gears of discipline in motion. My recommendation? Wake up early. No negotiation. No, just 5 more minutes. Waking up early is an act of mastery. Mastery of the body by the mind. And the first act of a free man is to conquer himself at the break of day. The first cog of success turns when you get up, even when you're sleepy, even when you're tired, even when no one is demanding anything of you. Because at that moment, you give yourself permission to thrive. After getting up, be silent. No cell phone, no outside voices. It's just you and your thoughts. Do what I call a daily production briefing. Write down the 3 non-negotiable results of your day. Not tasks, results. What needs to be done before the sun goes down, no matter what it takes? This clarity eliminates 90% of mental waste and aligns your energy like a train track. Once that's done, execute your first high-impact task before 9 a.m. It can be a sale, a project, an important decision, It needs to be something that moves your game forward. No cleaning up your email, organizing icons, or responding to WhatsApp messages. That's distraction disguised as work. Start your day by doing what generates money, results, or growth. This sets the tone for the rest of the day. And how you start is how you finish. Now let's move on to the second shift. Standard task management. This is where assembly line logic comes in. Every efficient factory has standardized processes. Parts. Come in, follow a flow, and come out with a predictable result. Your routine needs to be like that. Repetitive tasks should be treated as protocols. No overthinking. No reinventing the wheel. With speed, focus, and execution. Want an example? Your diet, your health, your reading, your personal organization. All of this needs a process, a fixed schedule, a checklist, and a maximum execution time. No wasting an hour to do what could be done in 15 minutes. Time is your greatest asset. Treat it like gold. If you start applying this, something magical happens. You enter a state of productive rhythm. Your mind stops fighting against the day. You stop making decisions all the time, and you start operating, flowing, producing. Wealth is born in this state, not in chaos, not in improvisation, but in rhythm. And here's a principle I applied even on my Sundays. Routine is not a prison, it's a lever. The more predictable your process is, the more powerful your results will be. That's why workers who follow patterns generate profits, and artists who live on emotion live broke. Create routine like someone building tracks for the train to freedom. Every standardized minute is a ton of extra power for your results engine. Third point of the day, your review and adjustment shift. At the end of each day, your job is not to collapse on the couch. It is to adjust the machinery. It is to analyze what worked, what got stuck, what generated returns. This is called daily quality control. No product leaves the factory without being reviewed. Neither should your life, because what is not measured cannot be improved, and what is not improved will collapse. Take 20 minutes, grab a piece of paper, and review. Did I achieve my 3 results? Where did I waste energy? What unproductive behavior is still in the system? These types of questions are what separate the poor from the millionaires. Because rich people think like engineers. They don't live on autopilot. They optimize all the time. They adjust the machine. Every single day. Now, let's talk about something even more crucial. Emotional armor. Because a perfect external system is useless if you are fragile, insecure, and reactive on the inside. In my day, I dealt with strikes, sabotage, criticism, financial and political crises. And you know what kept me going? Control of my mind, rational coolness, productive logic, mastery of emotion through structure. You need to train your mind like you train a muscle. Stop being held hostage by anxiety, comparison, fear, and doubt. This is done with 3 daily practices: silence, writing, and execution. Silence to hear your essence, writing to organize the internal chaos, and execution to overcome the noise of the mind with the weight of the result. This is what weak people don't do. And that's why they remain poor. You don't need motivation. You need traction. You need routine. You need brutal execution. Like a factory. Like a cog. Like a man who knows that freedom comes from repeating the right thing. And in the next section, I'll show you how to turn that routine into real wealth. How to use this high-performance system to build businesses, assets, and automatic income applying the exact principles that made me the most efficient industrialist of the century. It will be like setting up your own financial assembly line. A system that generates money even when you sleep because it was designed to scale, repeat, and multiply value. But before that, Your task now is this. Grab your execution notebook and set up your daily production line. Divide it into shifts. Set tasks. Define standards. And most importantly, start applying it today. It's not the prettiest system that wins. It's the one that's applied every day without fail. Now that you have the skeleton of your personal production line set up, it's time to make that structure produce what matters most: money. Financial freedom is not a coincidence. It is the natural byproduct of a mind that operates like a value factory. And if you apply what I'm about to teach you, you will cease to be a slave to time and become the owner of a machine that works for you. Let's get straight to the point. Wealth is born when your time starts to generate value, even when you are not present. This is called productive automation. It is what differentiates the worker from the industrialist. The former exchanges hours for pennies. The latter creates systems that multiply their efforts without depending on their constant presence. And how does this begin? With an asset. But before we talk about financial assets, let's talk about the most powerful one of all, the asset of reliable execution. A habit that generates results, that is repeated every single day, and that over the months turns into authority, product, income, or opportunity. This can be recording videos, writing, selling, teaching, producing, manufacturing, programming, promoting. What matters is that it is a behavior of continuous value. Look, when I created the assembly line, I didn't start by building cars. I started by standardizing movements, repeating them to perfection, refining processes. That's what you need to do with your skill. Choose one and make it a production routine. It doesn't matter if it doesn't pay off today. What matters is that you execute it with such excellence and frequency that it inevitably starts to generate returns. Now, let's move on to the second point, the creation of scalable value. Once you have mastered a production process, whether physical, intellectual, or digital, you need to turn it into something that can be replicated, sold, taught, or licensed. This could be a course, a product, a service, a business model, or a methodology. But it has to be something that comes out of your head and enters the market. The mistake most people make is to spend their lives producing value only for their boss. You work, execute, deliver, but all within someone else's factory. This is strategic stupidity. What you need to do is take that same effort, that same competence, and apply it to building your own factory, even if it's small at first. Even if it's just one piece, but it's yours. If you know how to sell, start training others. If you know how to organize, set up a service. If you know how to communicate, create content. From the moment you take a skill and turn it into a product, you cease to be a laborer and become a system owner. And that changes everything. And here is the golden rule I have applied for decades. No system should depend on your constant effort. If it does, it is fragile. It is unstable. It is stressful. You need to build processes that work, even in your absence. That is automation. In my day, that meant machines, conveyor belts, tools. Today, it can be technology, platforms, teams. The concept is the same. You set it up, adjust it, train it, and then let it go. But for this to work, you need to document it. There is no such thing as an automated business without a documented process. You need to write down what you do, how you do it, why you do it, and when you do it, and then train someone else or use technology to repeat that cycle. This is the heart of any successful business, and what most freelancers never understand. Look, you may be the best in your field, but if everything is inside your head, you are a prisoner of your own skill. Now, if you extract that skill, record it, package it, and replicate it, you are an industrialist, a builder, a manufacturer of freedom. And that brings us to the third point, continuous income. When you set up a system that automatically delivers value, whether through a digital product, standardized service, or recurring sales, you are printing money with the same principle as an assembly line. A product made once can be sold 1,000 times. A recorded class can teach for years. A well-designed system can work while you sleep. That's why my factory produced at night while my competitors slept. Because I understood that profit lies in systematic repetition. And you need to think the same way. How can I earn more without working more? How can I convert one-off effort into continuous return? How can I install a financial production line in my life? Start small. A service you deliver with a fixed model. An ebook that teaches something you've mastered. An infoproduct with a skill that already works. A monetized content channel. Anything that follows this pattern. Build once, reap many times. Last but not least, reinvest your profits in productivity. Most people who start making money get lost here. They buy cars, travel, increase their spending. That's the mentality of the poor with a high salary. The rich reinvest every penny in improving the system. They buy tools, they train staff. They automate processes. They pay for consulting. They expand channels. They improve their product. Why? Because they know that money is not a prize. Money is an input. It is raw material. It is fuel. And every penny reinvested in productivity returns multiplied. That's how I turned one car into 10,000, one employee into 100,000, one idea into an empire. Not with luck, not with marketing, but with systematic reinvestment in efficiency. And now I tell you, if you apply what you've just heard in the last few minutes, in the next 90 days, you can build a system that generates returns every month. It may not be a fortune at first, but it will be the seed of freedom. And that seed, if nurtured with discipline and focus, will grow into an asset that no government, boss, or crisis can take away from you. In the next section, I will conclude this mentoring session with what I consider to be the true essence of wealth, building a legacy. Because getting rich for the sake of getting rich is vanity. But getting rich to free your family, your name, your history, that is purpose. That is revolution. That is what moved me. And if you've made it this far, it's because you're also ready to move in that direction. You have applied the principles. You have eliminated the behaviors that erode wealth. You have established a routine of systematic productivity. You have set up your own little factory for generating value. Now comes what separates the rich from the truly great: legacy. What good is building wealth if it doesn't transform those who come after you? What good is financial freedom if your family remains emotionally enslaved? If your children repeat the same mistakes as their parents? That's not victory. That's sterile accumulation. And accumulating without transforming is a waste of vital energy. When I built Ford, I never thought only about profit. I thought about movement, impact, transformation. I wanted a worker to be able to buy his own car. I wanted access to mobility to transform families' lives. And more than that, I wanted the industrial system to be a lever for social evolution. That's legacy. It's not about what you earn. It's about what you leave behind when you're no longer here. And I'll tell you something. The world is full of rich, insignificant men. Men who have money but no history. Who have property but no purpose. Who have titles but no impact. Don't be that kind of man. Don't be that woman without direction. If you've come this far, you've been called to be more. To be a pillar of reconstruction. To be an engineer of destinies. And how do you build a legacy? It starts with a choice. The choice to not live just for yourself. The choice to teach what you learn. To serve with what you have. To transform resources into roots. The choice to think 3 generations ahead, not just about your next credit card bill. Want a practical example? Take everything you are learning here and turn it into lessons for your children, nieces, nephews, and grandchildren. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be pretty words. Teach by example. Show them your routine. Show them how you get things done. Show them how you get up early, how you save money, how you speak little and produce a lot. That is school. And it is much more powerful than any diploma. Want another example? Take part of your profits and invest in real knowledge for those around you. Pay for a course. Buy a book. Take someone to a lecture. Because that's how you build a legacy. By educating through practice, not by giving opinions at the bar. And more. Turn your home into a center of excellence. It doesn't have to be big. It needs to be functional. It needs to be clean. It needs to be orderly. Because external order educates the brain. What a child sees shapes what they expect from life. If they see mess, they get used to chaos. If they see patterns, routine, and excellence, they learn to respect their own name. This is identity engineering. And if you think it's too late, that your life is already set, that now it's just a matter of maintaining what you have let me remind you of something. I created the Ford Foundation when I was already considered one of the richest men in the world. And I began to overhaul the entire rural education system in the United States. Why? Because I understood that wealth is only valuable if it is a bridge, not a wall. It is only valuable if it is a tool, not an idol. You may be the last poor generation in your family, or you may be just another statistic. The decision is yours, and that decision happens in small, daily, silent acts. It's not about media charity. It's about teaching your family to think logically, to save with purpose, to work methodically, to build with excellence. What's more, stop hiding your mistakes. Turn your failures into tools. Share your pain with dignity. Show how you fell. Show how you got up. Because the new generation needs real role models, not Instagram superheroes, but men and women who made mistakes, corrected them, and won with blood, sweat, and method. And if you have a business, apply the principles of legacy there too. Treat your employees as future leaders. Create systems that work even without you. Record everything. Make your business a living organism that improves the lives of those who come into contact with it. Because a business is not just a means of income. It is a center of social transformation on a large scale. If you understand this, you are already years ahead of most people. Now, I want you to imagine the following scenario. Time has passed. You've grown old, and you're sitting there looking back on your life. What do you see? A pile of tasks completed and bills paid, or a journey with impact, a structure in place, a family healed, a sharp mind, and a mark left behind? What have you built with the days you've had? Because in the end, wealth isn't a number in your bank account. It's the effect your life has had. It's the strength your name represents. It's the kind of decisions your grandchildren will make based on how you lived. And now that you understand all this, I have one last instruction. Become the pillar. Be the reference point. Be the point of balance. Be the one who picks up when everything falls apart. And most importantly, be the one who teaches others how to build. That is being rich. That is being free. That is being a true Ford. I didn't come here to inspire you. I came here to activate you. If you've listened this far, it's because you're ready. Now go. Cut what you need to cut. Adjust what you need to adjust. Build as if your life depends on it, because it does. And never forget, wealth is a natural consequence of well-structured work. Now, if this content made sense to you, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with those who need it. Turn it into a tool for collective reconstruction. Because there's only one way to honor a legacy, by passing it on. And if you want more videos like this, if you want to continue on this industrial journey of personal transformation, do whatever it takes, subscribe, click the bell, share. Not out of vanity, but because the world needs more people who think. And execute like a 4-dot end of mentoring. Now it's up to you.